would like to call upon stage His Excellency Sujan Chinoy, former Ambassador of India in Japan, Director General, Institute for Defense Studies. Please, sir, honor us.
Namaskar, konnichiwa, konbanwa. Let me begin by firstly acknowledging the presence of distinguished guests today and hosts on the podium. Professor Himanshu Pandya, the Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, the Honorable Dr. Yasukata Fukahori, the Consul General of Japan, who has come all the way from Mumbai, Dr. Takeshi Matsui, the Vice President of the Otemon Gakuin University, who's come from even further afar, all the way from Osaka, and of course my good friend Shri Mukesh Patel, the President of the Indo-Japan Friendship Association. My story began in 1978, but before I come to that, let me recall what Swami Vivekananda said after his visit to Japan in 1893, when he had proceeded to Chicago for the World Council of Religions via Yokohama. In 1893, he had a chance to see for himself the astonishing progress made by Japan, even then. And he came back and wrote in a letter to a friend that he would like to see every young person from India visit Japan once, at least, in his or her lifetime. In my case, that journey, that dream was fulfilled in 1978 when I came to Ahmedabad and did a 2-year course at the BK School of Business Management. And I must remind you that I stand before you, therefore, as a proud alumnus of Gujarat University. In 1978, in the Senate Hall of the old building, I wrote an essay on Japan as part of a competition. And the successful ones were to be sent to Japan as part of the students' exchange program between Gujarat University and Otemon, which, as you all know, has entered its second half of the century, and this Golden Jubilee is the occasion on which we are welcoming our guests from Japan and also participating in this great function. And that is what took me to Japan, a successful essay on Japan. I was chosen, but I wasn't the only one. I had with me another very distinguished colleague. I wasn't very distinguished then, but she was, and that's Mrs. Amita Parrikar Dalal, who is here today. We were both 20-year-olds. We were selected to go to Japan. And there were two things that happened then. As part of our stay, I was interviewed by the Yomiuri Shimbun. It's a very prestigious paper in Japan. And was asked what I would like to be when I finished my university education, and I said I would like to be a diplomat and I hope to come back to Japan one day. But it was still 3 years away from joining the Indian Foreign Service. From this very city I wrote the civil service exam in 1980 and I got into the Foreign Service in 1981, and that long journey began, but it began with that all-important step of having been exposed to this one great country called Japan. And the second big thing that happened was that while in Japan, I was presented with a wonderful Daruma doll. Now, Daruma represents Bodhidharma, who had gone from Mamallapuram in southern India to China, and he had spread what we call Dhyan Buddhism, in Chinese called Chan, and in Japanese called Zen Buddhism, to East Asia. And the tradition was to paint one eye of the Daruma doll when you receive the Daruma doll, and then you had to make a wish. And the second eye was to be painted in only when that wish was fulfilled. And guess what? I had to wait for 37 years till I went to Japan as Ambassador of India in 2015, and then I painted in the other eye. Now this wonderful program between the two universities has lasted, as you know, several lifetimes and may it long remain so. But this wouldn't have been possible without the encouragement that the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Shri Narendra Modi, gave to the two universities. He himself visited Otemon, Gakuin University while he was Chief Minister. And above all, as Prime Minister of India too, he has given a great deal of impetus to this bilateral relationship. It is he and Prime Minister, the late Prime Minister Abe, who successfully elevated this relationship into a much bigger, comprehensive, special strategic global partnership. And I was privileged to play a role in this for 3 years as ambassador to Japan. It would also not have been possible to sustain an exchange program for half a century or more without the fullest cooperation, support and hard work of people like Shri Mukesh Patel, who has, I think, made it his singular obsession and ambition in life to make this relationship so special. And so it's also a great privilege for me to stand before you as the honorary patron today of the Indo-Japan Friendship Association. The only quarrel that I had with him when he asked me to become the honorary patron of this organization was regarding the fees. And I had to remind him that I still have the receipt dated 1978 when I had become a full member, a lifetime member of the association, and then he pardoned the fees as well. But that's also something that comes from my being a Gujarati. I preserved that receipt. Look friends, this is not just the 50th anniversary of this great program. It is also a year that marks the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between this great nation Japan and the Republic of India. On 28 April 1952, our two great countries recognized each other, established diplomatic relations, and over the decades this relationship has only grown in strength. Last year, we actually commenced the 70th anniversary celebrations that will last till the end of March or April this year, and a number of activities such as today's are being organized and will be organized. And I'm very happy to be here today to congratulate you for this extraordinary performance that we're about to see. Shorinji Kempo of Japan and karate performance by our people there. But it is also not just the 70th year of the establishment of bilateral relations. Today, 30th of January, is also Martyrs' Day. It's the day on which Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated, and it is therefore a moment to recall his values, Gandhiji's values of peace and non-violence, and these are values that we share with Japan. These are values that bind us together. Our shared values between India and Japan is the binding glue between these two great nations. When I went to see Professor Pandya in his office, when I entered the building, when I entered his office, at every place I saw a very beautiful statue of Saraswati, the goddess of learning. And you are aware that we also share our Hindu gods, our Hindu-Buddhist thought and philosophy with Japan. And Saraswati is also worshipped in Japan as goddess Benzaiten, as are many other Hindu gods and goddesses. And so it is only natural that in the 21st century, in a world that is so full of uncertainty, at a time when multilateralism has been weakened, there are wars, there is increasing distress for developing countries, there is insecurity with regard to food, fuel, fertilizers as a result of a raging war in Europe, that countries like India and Japan come together to light that lamp of knowledge, of shared values, and to point the others towards a new path in the 21st century. And it is not just that we are marking, for instance, Martyrs' Day today. It is also a year in which we continue to celebrate, in a sense, our Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. As you know, last year we marked the 75th anniversary of our independence and we entered Amrit Kal. And between now and the centenary celebrations of our great nation, we intend to all work together with unity and with discipline to ensure that India emerges by the time we celebrate our centenary year in 2047, that we emerge as a developed economy. And in this great task, it is Japan that will be our very, very reliable, trustworthy partner. A country that is present in virtually every great project in India today, in infrastructure, connectivity, human resources, and vocational training. And it is a country that is expected to be part of this great journey that we will perform between now and the middle of this century. I also stand before you today as the India chair for Think 20 for our G20 presidency. And it's a great honor for me to have been appointed as the Think 20 chair during the G20 presidency. Let me be very frank. I owe a great deal to my education, and therefore I must also give great credit to this university, which was a place where I spent 2 years, a place that gave me an opportunity to go to Japan and to begin that great journey towards self-improvement, towards contribution to our great nation's journey. Let me end by wishing you all the very best of health and success in all your endeavors. And before I run the risk of being physically evicted by the Shorinji Kempo team, or perhaps some of our enthusiastic karate exponents, I must therefore simply thank you all and resume my seat as quickly as possible. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, sir. From a student cultural diplomat exchange program to a diplomat of present, that is something a very long journey, sir, and we are honored to have you right here. Demands not dismal only, club, it requires more.